I think it is a big loss for Chelsea, huge loss. Of course, they've got great depth. They've overcome adversity before. They know how to win during difficult times and when they're faced against difficult opposition or difficult circumstances or whatever that might be. This is a new challenge, I think, for them to face. Sam Kerr is a big game player, and she comes up when they absolutely need her
key
most.
moments.
Oh yeah, and that will be a big loss for them. Plus her leadership. It's not just the goals she scores; it's everything she does off the ball, her movement, everything. So she will be absolutely a big loss, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Chelsea manage this. Do they stick or twist? Do they stick with what they have? Give me official that opportunity. Do they try and find somebody even on loan during the transfer window? That position is notoriously difficult to find, especially trying to replace someone of her quality.
Massively. I think we'll touch a little bit on replacements in a second, but I think just, piggybacking off what you said about what Chelsea have lost, I think you also have to look at the kind of reputation that she has, how dynamic she has. I think she's one of those players, obviously stepped into the captaincy role with Millie Bright, obviously out with her kind of knee niggle. Millie Bright obviously taking the captaincy this season. But then you think of the profile that she has around the club as well. I mean, everyone was excited. This weekend is the FA Cup. They're going to play West Ham. You've got the Kerr-Mewis matchup. I mean, that was kind of like the celebrity fixture to go into the new year with. And I just feel like it's going to be disappointing. Obviously, Mewis as well coming over to England, just got engaged, really excited, really full of energy. I know there were sort of rumours that they've been spotted, buying houses and things across in London. So I think it feels like the kind of profile that Sam has in and around Chelsea as well, I think, there's a sort of a dampened feeling, I think, there. And obviously, with the loss of Emma Hayes this year to the US Women's National Team, not too long ago, we saw that sort of devastating performance at the Emirates, and now two ACL injuries. It kind of feels like this is a turbulent period for Chelsea. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of ride this out. But like you said, then let's sort of touch a little bit on, some of the replacements. You mentioned there sort of, Mia Fishel, 22 years old, big fish, as she's known sort of in and around the women's football community. I think she signed for, I think it was about $250,000, I think was the kind of reported fee from Tigres, the top Mexican league. But so far, I think even though she sort of had quite a sort of big career in the Mexican league, a number of appearances. I think she was, I think it was nearly 50 appearances or so, scoring, I think, 38 or so goals. But this side, in the, coming over the pond to the WSL, her experience, I suppose, hasn't been that big yet. She's still a young player. I mean, what do you think do you think Hayes is going to now rely on her, or do we think actually it's too early and she still needs a bit more developing before she takes on the pressure of what's to come this season?
It's really hard to tell because I think normally, obviously, Emma Hayes would like to have that time, especially with younger players and players that maybe she sees as a longer term investment. Granted, Emma is leaving in the summer, but Fishel, I think, signed on a 3-year contract. She would have much preferred to be able to manage her minutes and manage her kind of introduction into the team, and she has had minutes. Does she now say, I'm going to trust her enough, give her this opportunity? When you're looking at a team that want to win the Champions League, that want to win every trophy, do you do that? Do you take that risk? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. That's what I mean about it being stick or twist. Does she go out and find somebody else? I don't know. I think it's a really hard one to call. I think they do have depth. They've got goals coming from other areas of the pitch. Guro Wrighton's back as well. She can produce goals. LJ scores goals. Fran Kirby, Erin Cuthbert. Like I said, they do have the depth, but there's a difference when you're losing a player like Sam Kerr, and it's not just, as I said, not just the goals, but even just the fear that she will instill in opposition teams, having to manage her movement, having to deal with her in the air. It's all those kind of different things.
She's a pest.
Yeah, she'd be a bloody nightmare to mark. I would hate to, and
she's like a gnat in the box.
She's not even the tallest, and somehow she floats when she jumps. So it's all those little elements. I do think they probably have the depth to get through, but I guess when they want to challenge on all fronts, can you afford to not go out and replace?
I think it's going to be interesting. So obviously now we've got these 2 transfer periods where Sam Kerr is going to be out of action. Obviously the January transfer window ends at the end of the month, and then we've got the transfer window coming in the summer season. But Sam Kerr's not going to be making it back this summer, obviously. It's a long-term injury. We'll probably hopefully maybe see her sort of towards the back end of 2024. That's if she has a good run and things aren't uncomplicated. But when you look at sort of what Emma Hayes has got to do now, she's got to make that decision about the sort of future career and the longevity of the club, putting everything that she's going to be doing aside. And I do feel that, you don't know how things are going to pan out with the injury. You don't know how things are going to go. It kind of feels like there is scope now to get in someone of that kind of, I don't know, someone who's sort of, an experienced attacking presence. I mean, at the moment, like you said, you've got to be official, but she's still sort of, finding her feet, finding that experience. She's still quite raw. And then you've got maybe Katerina Macario. She's sort of just coming back at 24, but hasn't featured in the WSL yet through, coming back from her own sort of ACL injury that she suffered in June 2022. I mean, her recovery has been quite long in terms of the sort of average ACL recovery times. I mean, it does feel like it's kind of precarious period, and we'll wait and see, I suppose, what because Emma Hayes wants to end on high. They've got 4 competitions they're still in, the WSL. Obviously, you've got the FA Cup, you've got the Champions League, and you've also got the Conti Cup. And I think, for Emma Hayes, she will want to end with, ideally, 4 bits of silverware. But do you trust that? Do you trust your sort of the ending of your career on youngsters who maybe just are that a touch too early to be that leading line for Chelsea?
It's such a difficult decision to make. And as I
Come on,
said
Rach,
to
give
you,
me an answer.
as I said to you, it's not a simple role
Yep.
to a player to replace. I'm also right in thinking Georgia Fox on loan from Chelsea did her ACL as well.
Yes.
That's another one. But I think she did that. I think both Nowen and Fox didn't do it at Chelsea, if you know what I mean. But they're rehabbing with them. So, bloody hell, there's so many of them again. It's you can't that caliber of player isn't just kind of floating about. Do you know what I mean? And that's what makes it so difficult. It's difficult enough to sign, at the beginning of a season. When you're, I want you all the time for this 3-year contract, whatever. It's not potentially a loan period or replacing a player who's injured for a long period of time. So it's a really hard position to find, especially a player that's going to have all the attributes Sam Kerr has. It could be a bit of a, Moneyball situation, where you look at what attributes can you find in your team that maybe Sam Kerr has, and what attributes now will be missing. Can we find someone to be a piece of a jigsaw rather than replacing her with one person? You know what I mean? But yeah, it's not easy.
Well, we had a question from Naomi on Instagram. She said, do you think Chelsea still stand a good chance of winning the league without Sam? Obviously, Chelsea sort of went into the winter break 3 points ahead of Man City. I mean, my perception is, yes, I think they are one of those teams that kind of, they overcome adversity. I think we keep going back to that, what you said, mentality monsters. They're going to want to do it for Emma Hayes in the same way that you saw kind of, the Australia squad did so. I think a part of why they did so well at the not the Olympics, the Women's World Cup last summer was because they wanted to get to a point where Sam Kerr could come back into the squad and actually perform and be on the pitch. So I think there's that kind of like, you find your inner grit. You find that kind of...
Well, look at Arsenal last season.
100%. I mean, to end the league that strong with all the injuries that they had, I think there is something in that kind of, okay, we're going to have to grit our teeth. We're going to have to grin and bear it. Everyone's going to have to pull their socks up. You're going to have to find this inner strength from everyone. Let's end on this kind of, historic moment for Emma Hayes. If it means the Champions League win, then cool. If you've got to sacrifice the title for that, then fine. But yeah, I still think they've got a really good chance of doing it. I'm not concerned that this is going to be a sudden drop off and all of a sudden we're going to see Chelsea in the relegation zone. That's absolute dramatisation.
No, it's going to be hard, but I would never write off Chelsea.
You can't.
You just can't.
It would be ridiculous to do so.
And we've seen what teams can do when up against adversity, when fighting for other teammates, and that can actually be a dangerous thing
for sure
for the opposition. So absolutely gutted for her, but I would not write off Chelsea.
Agreed.